We are excited
We are
too.
too.
Yeah. So we want to welcome you, Crystalline, to our Speak Up, Stand Out, and Transform Your Voice Masterclass, because that's what it is. We're not doing webinars because we don't believe in them. We actually believe it's more important that we are able to give you some tools and techniques you can use right now to give you the value and the return on your investment. So I'm going to hand over to Patty to kick us off with a little story about why we're doing this.
Thank you very much, Teresa. And again, welcome, Crystalline. It's really nice to see you again. And forgive me, I don't think you've heard this story. I'm trying to switch it up with different stories time. But if I have, then just tell me to stop and I'll hand it back to Teresa. But it's a story of the importance of women, especially in voice. And so here in Dubai, a little while ago, it was just right around International Women's Day. And there was this woman here, she's got this incredible initiative on working with women in the Middle East, particularly Arabic women, to get into the workforce. Because, you know, for a long time, expats just ran the show, and especially the Arabic women, they weren't in the workforce, not like they want to come now. So it's a very important initiative, and I went to support her. And she had a male MC. And really, I have to say, the guy had a voice for radio. And his voice was so beautiful that I can still remember his slides. And I can still remember what he said. And then the CEO of this brand new fledgling company for women got up there, and her voice was like fingernails going down a chalkboard. It was so high-pitched and so difficult to listen to. And everybody was going like this. And some people were actually covering her ears. And it's an important story simply because, as you know, because you've attended some work that I've done before, we don't think about the voice, and we don't think about the power of the voice. Now, I have since met with this woman, and I'm really working hard to encourage her to take voice classes, but she still is more focused on her initiative, and I understand that. But I'm trying to find a polite way, because I am Canadian and they are Arabs and they're very polite, to say, but your voice is destroying it. Nobody really remembers what she talked about. And what a loss. So I always like to start with that story because it reminds us that this gift that we are given, we ought not to take for granted. And one of my favorite teachers, Earl Nightingale, been gone now for a long time, but one of the founders of Nightingale Conant, he said, you know, the funniest thing about human beings is the very things that we are given as gifts, we take for granted, like the way our mind, and we don't really use our mind to our benefit. And I would add the voice, these beautiful gifts that we are given that we just take for granted. And I really want women especially to hone in on this magnificent instrument. And I want to take a moment to introduce you to my dear colleague and dear friend, Teresa Dukes. Teresa and I have known each other for a number of years. And I just want to say I'm very picky about who I collaborate with. You know, I collaborate with James. And I'm very happy and honored now to be collaborating with Teresa. So I'm just so happy to introduce the two of you. Teresa, take it away.
Thank you, Patty. And good morning, early morning to you, Crystalline. Yes. At least not as early as it was gonna be. So.
Right.
Good. But I wanted to share a little story as well, because I've been working with people that are either entrepreneurs or they're in the corporate world, and they come to me and they want either support on finding a way to identify their strengths and then how to shout about them. And that's one of the things that a previous client, she was running for a board of directors, and she says, you know, I'm really good at this, Teresa, already, but I know I need help. And I know that sometimes when you're going for something that's bigger than you, or you think it's bigger than you, it's always nice to have somebody to have your back. And so I worked with this individual, her name is Aletta, and she actually took everything on board that we were working on, whether it was the way in which she said something, the authority in her voice or the lack of authority in her voice, And then the authenticity of owning what she was saying. Because she says, I know that I've been in my own little world and in my entrepreneurship for a long time. And it's important that I can learn from somebody else that's been there and done it. And what she actually said to me at the end of all of our coaching sessions was, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so therefore we have to go back and become a student again in order to progress to the next level. And that for me was an amazing acknowledgement in her own progress as she's going through this world of being on a board and eventually becoming the leader of that board. So just a little insight as to what I do and what Patty does. And we don't want to stop anything else now. We want to actually go straight into our slides and kick this masterclass off. And we're going to do that by sharing a little introduction about each of us. Patty.
Well, you know me already, Chrislyn. She has seen me speak, and we had a really nice 30-minute conversation. And I'm very, very passionate. And I work with men, of course, but my real passion is to work with women. I don't know if you know that it really all started in 1993 when I interviewed the Dalai Lama in Vancouver. Do you know this story?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with new ones because I can't remember what I told you.
I don't think I remember.
I was a radio journalist, and the Dalai Lama came to Vancouver. And because I was with a big broadcast news, which is the largest arm for news radio, especially in Canada, I was given a really good long interview with him, and nobody wanted to take the job. And I thought I couldn't understand why not, because I was fascinated. So we had a good conversation. And I said to him then in 1993, what do you think is the single greatest threat facing humanity today? We haven't moved that far away from it. He said, it will be the men in power and their love for war toys. And it will be the women it will be the men in power and their love of war toys who will take us to the brink of destruction. And it will be the women of the world who will bring us back. And I said, how? And he said, with your voices. So that was 1993. And that is why when you hear me say the world is waiting for us, that's what's behind me when I say that. 1993. So here we are 30 years later. The men in power with their war toys are still banging around and killing each other and making it all worse. And as Teresa and I talked about this yesterday, and where are the women's voices? And so it's time for us, because we wouldn't think about killing. We would think about the children. We would think about the mothers. We would think about the schools. We would not think about, let's bomb the living daylights out of each other. We don't, and that's what's missing in the world. So it's in my attempt to honor what the Dalai Lama said to me all those years ago. That's really what drives my work with women.
Okay. Thanks, Patty. So what drives me, and I've been doing this for quite a few years, probably about 20 years, not as long as Miss Patty, because Miss Patty is she is my guru. She is my little star, I think, is what I would say. Because when I was going through a really big transformation in my life, and I wanted to run for a particular board position, I ran for it without any help from anybody, because I thought at that point in time I could do this. I did not need anybody to help me. I could just, wing it, which is what I was doing until I lost the race. I didn't lose it by a lot, but I still lost it. And what I actually did is I lost my voice, because the people I had surrounded myself with didn't believe in what I was trying to achieve. And it made me really think long and hard. Do I want to do this again? Do I want to put myself through this particular turmoil or challenge? And I thought, if I do that, I'll have to work with somebody who understands potentially what I was going through. And that's when I started working with Patty. And the first meeting that we had, she asked me the question. She said, Teresa, who stole your voice? And I started crying, because I knew who had done it. and I had never actually talked about it, because even though the people that I had surrounded myself with for that particular campaign, they weren't the ones that had stolen my voice. It was the inner belief of what I was still not dealing with. And until you deal with that particular block, you can't move forward. Patty helped me move forward. And so ever since then, I've been more and more engaged with helping people understand how to step into their power, how to identify those blocks, those hurdles, and how to get over them. And for me, this is an amazing collaboration, and I just can't wait to see where we take it as we get further and further along. So that's what, that's why me and Patty are here. And that's also why we actually love focusing on women, because we can see where they need an extra bit of support and push to actually say, yeah, I need to do this. I need to do this. So I want Patty to share with us what this sacred circle is all about and the safe environment.
Well, the Sacred Circle contract is just something that I began when I was working with young girls in Harlem in a communication program that I offered there. And I really wanted them to, there were young girls at risk, young girls and young women at risk. And I really wanted them to understand that in this work, now it's just you today, but all three of us will agree to this, that we are all teachers, you as well. And we are all students, Teresa and I as well, that we want to create a safe environment. Now, in a larger group, we really bring this home that we do not interrupt. We respect everybody. It doesn't matter. Once I was doing this and I had two women from the States, both for California, and both of them had been born Jewish. One was still Jewish. The other now lives in Kuwait, and she was wearing hijab. And they started to go at it. And I'm like, you all agreed to the Sacred Circle contract. Sandy can be wearing her hijab, and Pamela can be a Jew, and then we got some atheists, we got a Buddhist, we had everybody in there, so it doesn't matter. And for me, and as you know, because you work with James, so James is always making sure that everybody is welcome and everybody is considered. So we just bring this up because we don't, Teresa and I, we call it a masterclass, not a webinar, because we're not going to sell you a big thing. It's not like if you stay on till the end of the class, have we got a deal for you? We're not doing that. We don't want to do that. We find that offensive. We really do want to teach women. And if the group were bigger, then we would really be driving this home, and I would get all of the women to agree. And it gives us something in a larger setting. If somebody breaks that contract or gets close to, like these two women were, because the one in California could not understand why the one in Kuwait would subject herself to being a Muslim woman. And I mean, it's just a misunderstanding, right? So we have always something to fall back on. But I think what Teresa and I can tell you today is that anything that you tell us never goes beyond us here. We keep this to ourselves, and we honor you and respect you. And that's what the sacred contract is about.
Excellent. And, Patty, what I'd love to do right now, before I go into the agenda, is I'd love for Crystalline to introduce herself, since it's just the three of us.
Yes.
I think that would be nice. And tell us why you wanted to be on this masterclass and learn from us.
Okay, so good morning again. I would say I'm in my fourth quarter, okay? And I would say that I used to be president of our association, but listening to you all now, I realize what I felt like I was being overworked in that I wasn't very good at the speaking. So, in terms of presenting, I ran for an office. I actually won by 2 points, but so I had to practice. I'm not sure I practiced after hearing Patty. I'm not sure. I definitely didn't do what I should have done with my voice, but I believe that I was passionate enough about what I wanted to do that it, like you said earlier, I winged it, okay? But then I realized that I'm a little uncomfortable. I really, really need time to really practice and go over and over it, because I would write the speech and I would just go over and over it, And so that when I'm reading it, I'm familiar. I'm better if I'm live because I'm not afraid of the crowds or the audience. And so I would like read the room first, and yeah, I would then present. But then I realized from small, I realized as a young person, when I say young person, as a child, I always loved being in the forefront. Always loved to engage in speaking. And I think I might have got it from my mother and my brothers, all of them are like that. For me, at some point, someone, a child, said to me, "Your voice isn't that clear." I don't know if you know the term Thai tone. And then she says, "You are Thai tone," and I'm like, I didn't realize that all along. I would get up because I had the confidence in me at that point, and I would get up and didn't notice, and I think I allowed that person to just kind of shut me down. And so, even though I would have gone on, I did human resources and I went to grad school and all of that, I still felt like I don't want anybody to call on me unless I know in advance. Okay. And once I became the manager of an area, everything was like, and I know you still have to plan. We still have to plan. But for me, I don't want them to just call on me. I need time to make sure I focus more on the, I would say, so to speak, the academics. I focus more on getting the right information, which I know I should, rather than how do I present myself.
Mhm.
I found that I was happy that I know I had lots of information, but after hearing Patty, when was it? I think it might have been, I don't know whether it was this year or last year. Then I realized, no matter what information I have, if I don't present it properly, who's going to remember that? Okay.
Yeah.
And the things that were remembered was if I talk a story, and one of the stories I would talk about would be helping young, and well, I'll say young boys to steer them in the right direction. And I chose young boys because I have two sons. And I realized that in our culture, the focus is on the women,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And if they lose their way, who are the girls going to marry? So if all the focus is on the young girls, what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
And so I did a speech on something pertaining that some years ago, and there are a number of persons who remembered that before I did it, but the focus of doing it wasn't because to I just did it because that story or that came to me. Okay, so it was no method to that. It was just doing it, but people remembered, and I would have persons come up to me and say, "Are you still passionate about helping the young boys?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Why do you ask?" And they said they were somewhere and they heard me speak about that. So I do now understand the power of a story. I guess the power of a pause. Because when I did it, I think I paused because emotionally, I was emotionally connected to the story.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of difference. I didn't think so then. I didn't realize that, my emotions, kind of took it away. So that is who I am, and I'm really eager, ready to learn. I know I have my challenges, but you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to move forward.
Excellent. That is brilliant. That is fabulous. And what I heard is that you love to speak, but you deal mostly on building that information and finding all you can out about it, researching, and then you leave the delivery side of it off until you heard Patty. So I can tell you now, the stories are definitely our savior. They actually do bring the emotion and the connection to everything that we do. So today is going to be really powerful for you because we're going to cover 4 different areas. The first one is we're going to introduce you to the voice, which Patty is going to lead us on. I'm going to lead you on what does it really mean to step into your power and how you can take that to the next level. The third element is identifying your superpower, and Patty will go into more details about that and surrounding the way in which you can use that superpower. And then I'll end it with how we focus on stories and why they're so important. So we'll go into a little more detail on each one. And I know you're going to take away some really key tips and techniques here that you're going to be able to use today, tomorrow, and every day going forward. So welcome. Are we ready to get started?
Yes.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
Miss Patty, we're going to turn it over to you.
First of all, I want to say that when I first met Chrysalin, we were both speaking on Next Level You platform, which comes through some of the women that work with James. And I was very taken by Chrysalin's story. She has a very, very powerful story. But as we talked when we met for our 30 minutes, which was actually a little longer than 30 minutes, she read her story. And so we talked about how that's not the best idea because it was so compelling. And it touched you. It's very moving, and she's a very good storyteller. But I think that her takeaway from that night and from our talk was the importance of just standing into your power, stepping and telling your story. Because when we read our stories, we don't make as much eye contact. And we, again, I'm thinking, Chrysalin, as I'm hearing you, I'm thinking what Les Brown always says: don't make the mistake of focusing on what you want to say rather than on what the audience wants and needs to listen to. And that is the number one mistake. And recently, I was just telling Teresa, I was on a call with a world champion of through Toastmasters, a world champion of public speaking, and I found it very frustrating because he was not following Les Brown. He was focusing on everything that he thought he should say, and the audience was not following him at all. And I thought, oh, it's the biggest mistake that even top speakers make by focusing on content instead of always have to think. And this is where voice comes into it so much. And even if you're writing the voice, we have to think about the psychology of our listener. Meaning, am I delivering first of all, what they want to hear, or am I just stuck on my old self here, telling everything, throwing in everything, including the kitchen sink? And is this what they want? Is this going to benefit them? So we always think about what does the audience want? And this is why the voice is so important. Because like the young woman I was telling you about at the opening of today, if only she had thought and studied and taken any moment to tape herself and go, oh my gosh, is that my voice? She would have known that your beautiful initiative was worth nothing. Because while she was speaking, everybody was talking amongst themselves about how awful it was. And such an important initiative. So I love this quotation by Melinda Gates. I guess we have to call her Melinda French now because I realize she has dumped Bill's last name. So I better get in there and change that. But a woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. And voice is not just the sound of the voice, it's the point of view. So when we write, it's our point of view voice. And again, we have to write what the audience wants to read and not necessarily what we feel is important to say. The search to find that voice can be remarkably difficult. Teresa's work really helps people, and particularly women, find that point of view voice. Who are they? What do they stand for? When they stand into their power, what does that really look like for them? And my work primarily, and not exclusively, is how do we sound? So this is an opening here from my book that I keep saying is soon to be published. I don't know why I don't know. It's done. I don't know why I'm not sending it off. That's my own little issue I have to work on. For women to succeed in today's world, it is more important than ever that we speak up and stand out, that we speak not only to be heard, but also to be seen. And I think for women in the workplace, This is really important. But even for women like you, entrepreneurial women, you know, women in their fourth quarter who want to make sure that they get their story told. And kudos and congratulations to you for focusing on the boys. I really recommend, I'm happy and I honor you for that. One reason why Teresa and I like to work on women is, you know, that old African adage, when you educate a man, you educate one person, but when you educate a woman, you educate the whole village. So, but I love to hear, and you're right, so much emphasis is on the women. And what about the boys? And you're right, our daughters will marry the boys. And so when you said that about the boys, I had that image, you know, I saw a guy the other day in the Dubai Mall and he must have been in his 40s and his pants were hanging way down below his butt. I mean, he was like 40 something. And what are you doing acting like you're 15 and in some little punk gang? I mean, but people do need to work with the boys, and until the men really step up, I think that it's up to women again, because when you educate a woman, you educate the whole village. And so there you are educating the boys, and kudos to you. And I'm really very happy that you're doing that. Next slide, please, Teresa. Now, you've probably heard me say this because you've heard me speak before. The human voice is the organ of the soul. And for me, I choose this quotation not because I like the poetry of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. When I was in school, I hated it. I was like, oh my God, kill me, shoot me, I can't stand it. But for women especially, when we speak, are we speaking from our soul? I believe, and I think you will agree, because James also teaches us this, and we don't have souls, we are souls. And to me, that's a big difference there. And are we speaking from that, our heart of hearts, from that depth of our heart and soul? Because this is what's needed in the world. When we look at what's going on with all of these wars, those men are not operating from their soul. They're operating from ego and from mind, and it's not all men. It's just these dudes that are in power that think it's okay to war and kill each other. Not all men. Teresa and I raise sons, you raise sons, so we know it's not all men. But for me, this really strikes home to women, because are we stepping into our power so that when we stand up, we are in fact representing our soul. We are speaking from our soul. To me, it's very important. And heart of hearts is the soul in my thinking, right? There, you can't differentiate from my heart of hearts is really the voice of my soul. So next slide, please, Teresa. And this from Richard Strauss, from the famous Strauss musical family. The human voice, and I'm sure you've heard me say this too, the human voice is the most beautiful of instruments, but it's also the most difficult to play. And we've talked a little bit about this. Why? Because it is at the same time a wind instrument, because sound is actually made as the breath comes across the vocal cords. And the magnificence of the voice is it's when we play it like a Stradivarius violin or a cello or whatever, it's the vibration of the voice. That's what determines how far the voice will travel. So we're playing two instruments at once when we play the magnificent human voice. And this is what, when people become aware of this, they go, well, I never knew that. I didn't know that either until I began to study voice. And when we understand it's air, so we're going to do breathing, and then we're going to do some humming, because you know that these are the ways that we really get our voice strong. But first of all, we need to get back in touch with our soul. Next slide, please, Teresa. I love this quotation by Oprah. You know, what I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. Now, you may well have done this before, the I am. I want you to write this down on the piece of paper. These things about me, I know to be true. And so I want you to write that down on a piece of paper. And then I want you, I'm going to time you. I've got the timer ready to go down here. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes. And I want you to start. I think you may have done this before, but this is an exercise that we should be doing all the time. because it grows and grows. I want you to start every sentence with the word I am. And I want you to move in the positive. You know, Stevie Wonder said, when we're moving in the positive, our destination is the brightest star. So I want you to say, I am beautiful, I am powerful, not, I'm not a good listener, I don't want any nots. And even if you don't believe what you're saying, you just say it anyway, because if you write something down and you don't believe it, that just means you got to do the work on that. So that takes me to, this is stream of consciousness writing, free form writing, no editors allowed, because that editor, who's the head, doesn't really like it too much when the heart and soul are speaking. The editor is like, no, 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 you can't say that. No, that's stupid. Who? No. Editor says, you can't spell like that. It doesn't matter if you spell it. I don't care how you spell it. It doesn't matter. Leave the editor for later. And matter of fact, with the I am exercises, tell the editor just to go take a hike, because we don't need him right now. It's just really to get, because you know, my own program is called Your Brave Voice. And when I realized that women weren't speaking up, I didn't want to call it your authentic voice. Everybody uses that word authentic. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. I thought, why are women not speaking up? Why, when the Dalai Lama says it's women's voices that'll bring us back from the brink of destruction, where are the women? Well, we've all been conditioned. I don't care where in the world you come from. I don't care what society you come from. Shh. You can't say that. We're not supposed to brag. We're not supposed to say that we're good at something. Oh, I mean, I ran into that here when I was living in Oman. I said, well, you know, people said, what are you really good at? And I said, I'm really good at coaching. Oh my goodness, you guy got the man. Said, you're too boasting. I'm like, I'm not boasting. It took me like 69 years to be able to say I'm good at something, because we're so conditioned. Say, oh, don't worry about me, I'm fine, you know. So we're going to run the timer, and I want you for 3 minutes just to write. So where's my, here we are. Can you see the timer there? Oh, no, let me put it so all can see. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start the timer now. These things about me, I know to be true. And if you think it's going on forever, just take a little look up at the clock and it'll give you an idea, but just keep on writing. Let's go.
It's a fabulous exercise, because when you start writing, physically writing with your pen and paper, then it connects with your head.
Yeah. We know that that makes a huge difference to the brain when we use paper and pen. Just 1 minute to go. Just 15 seconds to go, Kristen. Just keep on writing. Excellent. Time is up. Oh, it even beeps. Ha. Very good. Very good. So now, Maya Angelou, and I think I should put this, remind me, Teresa, I should probably put this next, what I'm going to say, slide in there, because Maya Angelou, whom I just love, I loved her writing and I loved to listen to her. I loved her poetry. But she said, and I'm going to paraphrase here, which is why I should put the slide in, that words on paper are one thing. But when we put voice to them, that's when words really come to life. So with this exercise, now that you've written them down, and I want you to, unless you completely object to doing this, I want you to say them out loud. But I don't want you just to say them like, oh, I'm fabulous. And I'm no. It's about declaring to the world who you are. And so for women, sometimes when they do this, they cry because it's so, they've never done it before. They've never actually said how wonderful they, but girl, you're like me, like Teresa, we're in the fourth quarter here. And if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. So I want you to unmute yourself, please. You're in good hands. We will hold you gently in the palm of our hands and declare. So that means speak with conviction what you know to be true about yourself. Unmute yourself when you're ready, please.
Okay, I'm ready.
Good.
Okay. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am a powerful, dynamic, articulate speaker. I am happy. I am empathetic. I am trustworthy. I am open. I am eager to learn. I am loved. I am bold. I am hungry to grow. I am enough. I am a servant. I am family oriented. I am an excellent storyteller. I am an awesome mother and wife. I am caring. I am a team player. And I am strong. That's as far as I got.
Every time, I mean, you speak that with such conviction, and it's so believable. And you know, for younger women, and please, if you ever are working, even with the boys, you can get them to do this exercise, because I didn't create this exercise. This exercise goes way back to the Torah, I think, the Jewish books. I think that's what Yahweh means. It's so empowering. And so when people, you know, when we're not speaking up, or we're shy, or we think maybe we're going to sound stupid, all these reasons why people don't speak up. When we have this little list of I am, and even if you have to go into the bathroom and read it to yourself in front of the mirror, this is the truth about who we are. This is the soul speaking. This is not the head. This was your soul, your heart and soul, telling us all that you are. Every time I hear it, it moves. I get goosebumps all over. And every time a woman especially does this, I get to be on the verge of crying. It's such a powerful statement. So because you're working with boys, it doesn't matter that this is an exercise that we do a lot with girls. You know, imagine if young boys could do I am and stand up in front of each other and say, I am good, I am fair, I am decent, I am kind, I am noble, whatever it is that they write. So I encourage you, when you're working with them, anybody, you know, at any time when you're coaching, working with somebody, feel free to use this exercise, because it's very, very powerful. And as we get older, we don't fall into these funks as much. We have more confidence in our abilities and because we have so much experience. But I love to do the I am, and James makes us do this when he writes those, the gratitude things. I am this, I am that. So just keep doing this. Write it as often as you feel like, as often as you need. And when James does that, we got to write all that we're grateful for. And then he says, fold up that piece of paper and just put it in your pocketbook or put it in your pocket and bring it out in the day. Yes. And if you get a chance, go stand in front of a mirror and declare, even if it's just yourself. I mean, we're the ones that we have to convince most often of what we're really good at, because our inner voice is like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Oh no, why, you're so stupid. 85% of our inner talk apparently is negative, and we talk more to ourselves than to anyone else. So let's get into some self-love, and let's, sing it loud, sing it from the top of the proverbial mountain. Let the world know, because when women start, can you just imagine in all of these conflicts around the world, if we could just hear a chorus of women saying, we are strong, we are the peacemakers, we care for the children, we are the ones. Wow. And I don't mean to overrule the men. I mean to bring balance to the world. Next slide, please, Teresa. How did that feel before we go on to the next one? How did that feel? How does it feel when you do that? Unmute yourself, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know I did it with James, but I didn't even think of it the same way because now I'm speaking it. I wrote it. You write it. You don't necessarily say it, but saying it, makes a whole lot of difference from just writing it. Because before I just write, but actually saying it, I felt.
Yeah, it's, Maya Angelou is correct that written word is one thing, and it's very powerful. But when we put voice to it, those words come to life. They take energy, because it's the vibration of the voice and that conviction and that the soul. It's the soul speaking instead of the head. Now, the other work that I like you to do, please advance this slide just a little bit here, Teresa, for me. So the night that you and I spoke at Next Level You, and Terry Riley spoke before you, I think, I loved her. And she said something that brought tears to my eyes. She said that when asked, only 4% of women in the world admit to being beautiful. This is tragic. So when I first created this exercise, it was for my girls in Harlem, and I wanted them to be able to declare to the world what they know about themselves to be true, beautiful, and good. This next one is a homework assignment. You can set your timer for 2 to 3 minutes, and I want you to write down, I love the beautiful way in which because we got to get away from this glamorous definition of beauty, which I think we all fall into. I mean, here I am at almost 71, and I've gained weight, and I'm just really not liking it because I never was heavy before. So I got to say, no, you're beautiful, girl. You are beautiful. And when my son was here, I fell on a marble floor. And I'm going to tell you, if I didn't have that weight, I would have broken some bones. But I was like a bouncy house. My tummy and I just bounced a little bit. So you see, it was a beautiful thing. I love the beautiful way in which I work with the young boys. I love the beautiful way in which I mother my children. I love the beautiful way in which I walk in the world. We never, ever, 96% of us apparently, cannot admit to our own beauty. I love my beautiful body with its extra kilos. I'm working on that one. I don't completely believe it, but I work on it because I know if I do that other negative self-talk, it's just, I'm the one that gets hurt. And I don't think my son, I was so horrified at what he's never seen me like this. He says, no, Ma, I really like it. I think it's good. Wow. Okay. See, we judge ourselves and we criticize ourselves, and our beauty is so much deeper than just what the magazines say. And the final one is, what's really good about me? Like, what's our goodness? And again, you just write for just stream of consciousness, no editors. And then even if you're home alone, you just can go into that bathroom, you can put on your Zoom or your recorder with your camera and just declare them. This is how we get into our bravery. This is the beginning steps where Teresa's going to take us now into stepping into our power. Once we've got our truth, our beauty, and our inherent goodness understood, now we are really stepping into our power, and nobody is going to knock us off our game. Thank you, Teresa, for managing the slides.
No worries. That was brilliant. I sit there and I write as well when we're doing the exercise. But what I really love about that is when you do declare it, when you say it back, and we can feel the emotion and the connection that you have with it. And I was getting little goosebumps here. So it really, really kind of, made me go, woo, love it, love it.
You just said the $6 million words, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Because the best message as a storyteller, as a speaker, the best message is the message that is felt. And that's what we do when we choose, when we find our inner voice as well as our spoken voice. Go ahead now, Teresa, take us into stepping into our power. We are ready for you, girl.
Oh, I just love her energy. That is what is so powerful about working with somebody that has so much passion, because they have to keep saying the extra things that come to their mind. And I love it because it helps lead me straight into this really powerful section as well, because what really does it mean when you need to step into your power, or to actually step into your power? And I work with a lot of corporate individuals. They're looking to either get out of a dead-end job that they're in at the moment, or a role they want to move over laterally, or they want to go for promotion. And they really struggle identifying the definition of being able to step into your power. So I want to break it down into a couple of different areas. And this is what managers or bosses or executives are looking for when they know somebody understands what it means to step into their power. The first one is, I don't know how many times I have had somebody come to me and say, oh my God, Teresa, this is ridiculous. How is it that we don't have enough chairs set out? I'm thinking, well, you just brought me the problem. What would be the solution to that problem, right? What would have been nicer would have been for you to come to me and say, hey, Teresa, I noticed we didn't have enough chairs set out for today, so I put a few extras in. Yeah, because, the worst thing in the world that a manager or a senior exec can be presented with are more problems. They already have enough. And they want people in their team that can actually lead and understand that solutions are definitely so much more powerful than problems. So when I go through these elements, I want to make sure that you understand, when you are presented, are you this positive person that brings solutions to the table? And maybe you can think of times, hey, I remember last week I brought a solution. I didn't talk about the negative, I brought a solution. And start jotting down some of those times that you did bring solutions to the table. Because then once we know what those solutions are, guess what? They start to become stories. And that's what we'll go into in the next section a little bit later. But also, what a lot of people forget about is, you know what? I've got this wonderful ability to help people understand something that I take for granted, but they might struggle with it. So there are times in my life where I noticed somebody was struggling with something. It was when I was in the corporate world, and they absolutely hated Microsoft Word and how to build a proper document and outline and all of that. And they would come to me, Teresa, can you tell me, how do I put in sections? How do I put in proper columns? And, I could have said, go Google it. But that wouldn't have helped, because they would have not been able to understand the exact way in which to overcome whatever problem they were facing. So looking for opportunities to share your knowledge, your expertise, your superpower, that is what a manager really and an executive is really looking for in someone who wants to be seen and be visible and to be recognized for what they're doing. Because if you just sit there and hold on to your little power, your little gift, and you don't share it with anybody else, well, what does that mean? It means you're hiding not only your visibility, but you're hiding that opportunity to learn a new skill, which is being involved as a team member, coaching someone through something that maybe you never thought you were going to do, or networking with other people that have similarities to the synergies you are bringing to the table. So are you a person that shares your knowledge? Think about it. When was the last time you shared your knowledge? And this one's my favorite. I was going to say, Patty put a little GIF up on Facebook the other day, and it was a chair, and the chair was surrounded with little sections that had books in it. And if you could see behind me right now, I have so many books behind me. It's not funny, because I truly believe that if we want to improve our position in the world, in our life, in the role that we're in the corporation or as an entrepreneur, we absolutely have to be lifelong learners. And that means to always constantly be making sure you're learning about new things. Me and Patty, we are enjoying ChatGPT. I don't know about you, but if I can have that little bit of assistance to write something that I think, well, I could spend hours perfecting this and writing it better and better and better. But if I just put a little question or the gist of what I'm trying to get across, and I put a little question in ChatGPT, oh my God, does it absolutely just give me, it's like it's showering me with prose. And obviously, I don't sit there and copy everything word for word, but I look at it and I think about how much time it just saved me. And then I put my twist on it. Yeah. Because, it's one thing to sit there and say, give me the answer, but it's another thing to say, give me some ideas. And I think that's the beauty of ChatGPT. So that's what I'm working on to be to improve my skill set. Artificial intelligence. They say it's new, but it's been around for a very long time. I mentioned earlier, did you Google it? And Google is using a search engine that is an artificial intelligence. And so many people just don't realize that artificial intelligence is getting better and getting more useful, but it's being aware of how you use it effectively, and not just as a cheat sheet, I would say. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a lifelong learner, Kristlyn? Yeah.
Yes.
I want to see her books. I want to know she's got books back behind her. But everybody learns in different ways, whether it's a computer based training, or it's books that you literally read and physically have in your hands, or it's by going out there and joining courses physically, taking
As she's doing now. Yeah.
as she's doing now.
And reading and taking part. Yeah, I'm a lifelong.
Excellent. I knew you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Yeah. Now, the one thing that I have encountered, especially with a lot of women in corporations, is they do not shout. And Patty was talking about this earlier. They do not shout about where they see themselves going in their career. And they don't even shout about when they achieve something or they're recognized for doing something really well. And if you do not shout about it, nobody else is going to do it for you. And if you aren't shouting about it, you are going to be invisible. And that happened to an individual that I used to work with back in the corporate world. He was a fantastic software programmer. And he figured, well, if I just keep doing what I'm doing and, everything is going smoothly, they'll eventually know that it was me that did it. And they won't.
Hi, Teresa. You brought something to mind. When I introduced myself, I didn't say that I was one of the authors in the book that the Guru Gold. And so, yes, you do kind of put it on the back shelf. And so now I have it out as my chapter is now on Amazon. Of course, we have Les Brown and James on it. But like you say, I cannot push that yeah to the back. It came
Push
out
it.
last month, my individual chapter. So yeah, so
Oh,
that
I love
resonated with me too.
Yeah. That's a book with
excellent.
Les Brown. She's in a book with Les Brown. You got to mention it. I hear you.
This
It's so
is
easy
huge.
for us
Yeah,
to not say those things. And yeah,
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to be in a
And
book with Les Brown.
well, exactly. And that's the whole point. When we aren't shouting about these things, then people will never know that we've had any experience of even, working with Les Brown. And I worked with Craig Valentine, and I've got a chapter in one of his books. We're getting ready to do another book on virtual world-class speaking. And I'm going to shout about it for the rooftops, because that actually raises our profile, that raises the way in which people look at us. They take us more seriously because they can see that we are not sitting back and waiting for something to happen to us. We're taking action. So you better start shouting about that chapter in your book even more. That is your challenge. That is your homework now, to start putting that out there. Put it on, whether you got a website or you've got your social media, start talking about it, because people want to hear, they want to recognize you for your expertise. And that's one of
Kristen, I'm like that too. I'm in a book too. There's 2 volumes of women around the world that were asked to write about leadership. And it's became a bestseller. And I see Teresa, she's got it already, and she's ahead of it. I haven't put that up on my LinkedIn. I forget, like you. I mean,
No.
Les Brown, are you kidding? He's my idolized Les Brown.
Yeah.
I hear I am bestseller, global, 2 volumes, and I forget about. It's in. I don't forget that I did it, but I forget to toot my own horn about it. So nobody
And
knows about it.
exactly. And Patty's in another book as well. It's called Women on Success. And so am I.
Yeah.
And so, even just putting those titles out there, putting the fact that you are in a best-selling book, you are a best-selling author because you are part of a successful book, that again is going to make people look at you in a different light. So Miss Patty, you got homework now too, don't you?
Well, you see, that's why we're all teachers and we're all students here. So thank you for reminding Chrislyn and myself that
Yeah.
it's really important that we do that. Yeah. And it's so easy to oversee it. Like just, oops.
So, the other bit of this homework is, start vocalizing it, but also start to think about the other achievements you've gone through, that you've accomplished, things that you've been successful at. Start making a list of them, because once you start writing down those things, it's like the affirmations, the I am and the beautiful and the true and the good. Those, when you write them down and then you start to say them out loud again, you start to realize, wow, I've done a lot. I've done a lot in my 4 quarters of being in existence, right? And that's maybe that's an exercise I'm going to start getting people to do as well, because if we forget about what we have achieved, then everybody else forgets about it as well, and they never get the opportunity to understand how you got to where you are now. So that brings me to
one area where women fall short, and men always remember and they celebrate, and we forget. And that's why maybe you did this exercise too, Teresa. We say confidence is based on evidence. And so you write a list of 150 things that you've accomplished, and it's just mind-blowing. And men do that so much easier, but women, we just, I don't know, we got to make dinner. You got to get the kids to the football. You got something else to do. You don't have time. But men are very good at celebrating. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're right. And women have to learn. They have to actually start putting themselves first, and everything else goes after it. The last one on this particular area is going the extra mile. And I believe that the majority of women do that automatically. It's like an innate thing. We're not only running our own businesses or, managing a project at work. We're managing the house. We're looking after the family. We're buying the groceries. We're cleaning the house. We're budgeting the money. We're doing all of these things behind the scene. But when it comes to you as a woman, as an individual, especially in the speaking world, it's really important that you start going that extra mile so that people can find you. And that means reaching out, talking to individuals that you think, hey, I know you guys do podcasts. I'd love to be interviewed. I know that you have a summit where you invite people to come and speak about their challenges. I want to be on that summit. And you start looking at your connections on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever social platform you're on, but you start reaching out to them instead of waiting for them to come to you. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned over the past couple of years. Word of mouth is good for a certain amount of time, but eventually you've got to start putting yourself out there and talking to people. You're really good at speaking, so start speaking with people and asking to be on their programs, because if you don't ask, you don't get. That was one of the things my mama always said: if you do not ask, you do not get. So start asking. Yeah, start asking. Patty, this is going to lead us straight into your next exercise, which is all about the superpower. So please, over to you.
This one sentence here to me is why the human voice is the great superpower that we have. It's the great persuader. And I think, Chrislyn, that you are beginning to really grasp this now, because you know that vibration, like when you did your declarations and Teresa said I could feel them, because the power of your conviction, the power of your voice when you said them was such from your soul and such clarity. The electrical power of your voice when you were making those declarations can actually enter into the imagination of your audience. So think of this now when you're telling your very compelling story. And I hope by the end of this, you'll tell Teresa at least part of the story, because it's a miraculous, it's a story of strength and resilience. And imagine now when you really can get into that and you're humming and you're practicing, giving your voice that resonance, the vibration, because you know everything is vibration, you know, everything is vibration. James talks about this with us all the time. And when that vibration goes into your audience's mind, their imagination and their brain, it actually creates new impulses, new synapses, and new ways for the brain to think about what you're talking about. So, and I really want to encourage you to, put your name out there for speaking at women's summits. Contact me, because there's one coming up with World Women Organization. And I think you work on your voice and you get your story strong, and there'll be a platform there for you. And there's many different podcasts. Teresa is right. Go that extra mile. Get your story and work on the voice, because the story that you have is, I'll never forget it. Even though you were reading it and even though you weren't aware of your voice, imagine that. I'll never forget you telling that story that night. So imagine now when you're making eye contact, whether it's in the camera or on a stage, and they can really feel you because you're not reading it, and because you have practiced developing the register of your voice, the depth of your beautiful, magnificent instrument. And all of a sudden, everyone is leaning in, and they will, if I will always remember your story without the skill, imagine what's going to happen. Imagine those people who are sitting in your audience who've had a similar situation as you and are sitting there and thinking, wow, I can do it. I can come back like she did. I just need to change my thinking, because they will feel, not just hear, they will feel, because you will come from your soul and you will vibrate from your soul into their hearts, their minds, their brains. It is the superpower. If you want, for people who are in sales, or like we go back to the young woman I talked about at the beginning, that voice. if she doesn't get that voice fixed, she can be on every stage in the whole wide world and nobody will know what she's talking about, because they'll spend the whole time going, oh my God, oh my God. Or they're scrolling through their phone, or they're talking to each other, or this is the time I'm going to leave the room and go to the bathroom. And she's missing a golden opportunity. You, with the work you're doing with the boys, with your desire to become on that stage to speak, and one day you could be on that stage with Les Brown and James. Imagine the impact that you can have when you just focus on this. Because Teresa, I'm telling you, this woman has a story that is one of brilliance and resilience and heart and soul. And I'm hoping that at the end we'll have time for her. Next slide, please. So you've heard me say it before. I say it 100 times every time I lecture. A great voice happens when the right amount of air meets the right amount of vocal cord. Now, people, you know, I work with adults and they say, well, I don't have time to do homework. You have a minute. You have a minute. Everybody has a minute or two here and there. I don't know about you, but I do my own dishes. I clean my own house. I take a shower. I do all kinds of things where I can do my pa, ta, ka, ma, or my humming. So, you know, the right amount of air has to come from breathing down into the tummy, opening up that rib cage and letting the belly fill up with air. It's kind of like getting wind in your sails. You know, if you go sailing and there's no wind, you're tacking back and forth, you're not getting anywhere. But when there's a lot of wind, you can go at such a clip and it's so much more fun. So I want you, let's go to the next slide, because I know Kristen has heard a little bit about this. But let's do this together if you wish. You could unmute yourselves. I'm going to take a little bit of water here. And let's just breathe, take our breathing in through the nose. Just do a couple of breaths, breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Breathe in maybe to the count of 4, breathe out maybe to the count of 8. Just do another one. Keep the shoulders down. The out breath is more important than the in breath. So whenever you're practicing breathing, always take longer to exhale and exhale everything. And imagine, you know, when you have stress or eat the wrong kind of food or you're running late, all those things create toxins in the body. And they can come out, be expelled through the breath. Okay, now we're going to breathe in through the nose, fill up the tummy, get nice big fat Buddha belly. And as we exhale, we're going to do, first of all, pa. Okay, this is 1 minute a day. Do it for 30 days. 1 minute a day. If you want, you can do it 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night, but just 1 minute a day. I mean, everybody has time for 1 minute. We just have to become aware and self-cognizant of it. Okay, let's go. Breathing in, we'll do pa. Breathe in. And exhale. Pa. Listen. Keep going. Now, both of you have your mouths like this. So when you're speaking, if I'm speaking like this, you can't really hear me. It's like when you go to the doctor, you do ah. So as you're running, we're going to do ta now. As you're running out of air, you open your mouth more. I'll show you once, and then I'll ask you to do it. As I run out of air, I open up my mouth more. I contract my belly. It's very important for speaking because, you know, I love my Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, but he's always like this. He's always taking a big gulp of air in the middle of a sentence, and he doesn't sound like a world leader. He sounds like a little kid on Christmas Day. It drives me nuts. I almost became his coach. I got shortlisted, but they didn't pick me. And had they, I would have done this exercise with them. Okay, so fill up the belly. If the voice wants to go, ta, it's okay. The vocal cords are saying, hey, 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 what are you doing? Because they want to turn on and off. And you're saying, no, 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 I'm the boss of you now. You've been the boss of me all these years. Now I am the boss of you. So you just ask them to stay open. That's all. Okay, let's go. Big fat tummy. Ta. That's good. That's good. Now, so Chrislyn, I can hear you. And you're running out of air a little bit, and it's getting a little bit weak at the end. And I love this when that happens. You know why? It means you haven't even begun to tap the potential of that magnificent instrument. I've been doing these for years, so now I can do ka, because I've been doing it for many years. But when I started, I was like, ka, so never do it when you feel any stress. If the voice, the throat, the vocal cords are feeling strained in any way, stop immediately, because they're little itty bitty guys, and they rip very, very quickly. So let's breathe in now, and see, see right now, as I'm doing it, the vibration is actually clearing some gunk off my cords, and that's good. That's where you want to get them nice and clean. So let's do ka now, breathing in, big fat belly, and as you exhale, ka. You both have magnificent potential. Very good. I promise you. I mean, we're taking a long time right now, but you can do it in a moment. You just do pa, ta, ka, ma. That's it. Now, when you do ma, I always ask my clients to hold the and it'll make sense in a moment. But I want you to, so this is how we're going to do this one. Breathing in, shoulders down, belly fills up. Listen, you're getting better with each one. With each one. Good. Okay. You can be opening your mouth more and more. You know, when we really do voice work, we go deeper into it. But so now I'm having coffee with my friends. Look at my mouth. I'm having coffee with my friends, and I'm kind of just like this, right? Because but now I'm speaking on the stage, and look at what I'm doing with my mouth. You see how I'm opening my mouth more? Why am I doing that? Because I want to increase the chamber of sound. I want to have more room in my mouth for the sound to come out. So when I go pa, as opposed to pa, pa, same amount of wind. But when I open my mouth, I'm giving more room for the sound to come through, and it makes it richer, and it'll carry farther, because we all know as speakers, we got to speak to the person at the back of the room. When I was a figure skater, we always skated to the people at the top of the, you know, the poor seats. My mom used to say, they paid their money too, you know, they get to see you, they should feel you. And it's the same with people that sit at the back of the room. They're there to hear you, so you better just raise that voice and send it flying to the back of the room. So that's 1 minute a day. Next slide, please, Teresa. Humming. I'm telling you, even on LinkedIn now, I'm contributing to these articles that are anything but voice. All these experts get on. Nobody talks about humming. And every good voice coach, it's standard. If you want that vibration, and you want to have that resonance, that vibrational quality that enters your listener's imagination, you got to hum. And so it's easy. Hum, like breathing in the same. You can go. And for women, women need to practice humming the low notes so that we can get a big depth of our register, because women tend to be up. There's 3 voices: face voice, throat voice, and chest voice. Women tend to be a lot up here, a little bit in here, and nothing down in the chest. And I'm not suggesting that we start talking like this, because that would be stupid, but we need to know how to access that range. So, and you can hum scales, you can hum your favorite song, but for right now, let's do this. We're going to fill up the belly, and the first hum is just going to be in the natural range. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to go up, and then we're going to do it again, and we're going to go down and play around. This whole thing with voice should be a discovery. You will learn the magnificence of your own instrument, because it's connected to your soul, and there's only one of you in the whole wide world. Therefore, there's only one way of articulating you in the whole wide world, and it comes through the voice. So let's fill up the belly and just do a normal okay, let's go. Let me hear you. Yeah, it's okay. You're going to practice it, and you're going to get it so it sustains. Let's go up, but let's go up whatever you want, a note or two. I'm not musical. Good, good. And now let's go down low, like maybe a bit like a foghorn. Many people don't know what a foghorn is, but you know, you would, Chrislyn, because like me, you come from by water, you know, the so fill up. Bravo. So 1 minute a day of patakama. Maybe 2, if you really want to push it, you could do 3 minutes a day of humming. Do it in the shower, because that's really good to clear off the vocal cords. And hum when you're driving. You can do these exercises anywhere. I don't want my clients to say, well, I don't have time to do the homework. I mean, we can go deep. I can give you tons of homework, but this will do. I promise you, both of you, Teresa knows this because she hears it all the time. 30 days of these 2 exercises, and your voice will be stronger, and your voice will be moving towards being your superpower. Because just like when you spoke with conviction in your I ams, why was that? So why did Teresa feel it? Even though she's in the UK, you're in the Bahamas, I'm in Dubai, we felt it. Why? Because of the vibration of the speaking from your soul with conviction. Boom. That best message is the message that is felt. Chrislyn, you got stories. This final quarter for you is rich with all the gifts that you can give. We are here to help you facilitate that. Teresa, back to you.
Excellent. Oh my God. I love those exercises because I'm already feeling the strength in my voice, and just from doing it this little bit of time. And we can find those 3 minutes or those 1 minute a day. It becomes the habit. And there's a James Clear book all about atomic habits. So if you haven't got that one, you need to get that book. Change your habits.
I have that.
She's got it.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know, this moves us really nicely into why stories are important, because once we find our voice and we understand what it means to step into our power, we've identified that one of our strengths is actually our voice. We want to use stories to back it up. And you know, I asked you guys to write down your accomplishments, your achievements, and start keeping a list of those, because the best thing that you can do is have those handy when it does come time for you to shout about things, and you'll have clear identified examples that you can bring to the conversation, whether that conversation is with individuals, your peers, or if you're going for a job interview, or if you're going to go for a promotion, or you're just looking to share something with your boss, or as an entrepreneur, share with your audiences. The stories are really, really important. And one of the techniques that I have used really quite successfully with anybody who is either going for a job interview or actually just wanting to prove that they can stand up and deliver a story effectively is the STAR Plus technique. If you've been through an interview, you will know what this is. I'm going to go through this really quickly just to let you know what the acronym stands for. The first S is, it's all about the situation. We want to keep it really nice and succinct. Give us a clear understanding of what that situation may well be. And it can fall into any category. The T stands for task. And this particular task for me is the most important part about telling your story. The task is about how have you strategically decided to approach the challenge you found in the situation. Because it's not about saying I did A, B, and C. It's about strategically coming up with an objective to counteract the challenges you faced in the situation. Then the A is for action, which is where the majority of your time has to be spent telling about the things that you took charge of. I owned it, I managed it, I negotiated, I articulated, whatever it is you did. This is where all the I's come into play in the action section. A lot of people stop there. We don't want you stopping at the action. We need to know what was the result of all the actions that you took. And it's not just, well, everything turned out hunky-dory. We need to know what was the impact on you, the team you were in, and the company or the business that you were involved with. So we want to know, did you save time? Did you save money? Did you bring about a resolution that is even being used today to keep everything running smoothly? It's all about impact. The result is, it's not just everything is working fine now. It's the impact you had on that team, yourself, and the business as well. And the last one, the plus, is all about the lesson that you learned from this. And this is probably the one element that will differentiate you from everybody else's story. When we explain what we've learned from the experience we have gone through, then and only then do people get it. And they understand that, oh my God, well, if you learned that big lesson, I have a story where I can tell you the lesson I've learned. So it's actually helping people develop their own lessons and their own conclusions, I guess, to the situation that they found themselves in. So how do we use this? And that's like the next step. How do we put this little template into practice? And I really wanted to just briefly explain those. Maybe I can come up with a story that I have used in the past. For the situation, I want to focus specifically, really, really short. This isn't a novel. The situation isn't the novel. I was managing a team of 10 people, and I made the decision to divide these 10 people into 3 subgroups because the project we were working on was really important and it needed to be divided up so we could meet our deadlines on time. Quite quickly, we realized there were some people that didn't like each other, and therefore we were being delayed. Our time scales were way out because these people weren't working well together. So that's brief. That was the challenge I was coming up against, really succinct the circumstances of that situation. All right. So the task, what would be my objective to overcome that challenge? Well, the goal that I wanted to work towards was understanding what made each one of my team members tick. What were they really good at? What did they need work on? What was stopping them from getting along with each other? And what could we do to counteract all of that? So my objective was to bring somebody in to help us understand the way we all worked. That way I knew we would get everything back on track. So the task is that strategic goal or objective you wanted to reach. So that was okay. We're gonna bring this person in. So the action that I took, this is specifically what I did. I went looking for someone who had experience specifically in dealing with conflict, dealing with managing that conflict, not just resolving it, but managing it so that we could understand where we all lay and go through techniques where we could each have our voice heard and then be able to pull together a cool and complete solution. So I found this individual, I negotiated a price to include it within our budget. I developed a day where we could literally take away everybody from work and just focus specifically on getting to know each other a little bit better. So it's specifically what I did to initiate this solution to happen. So what was the outcome? What was the impact? And this is where it gets really quite fun, because I could say, hey, at the end of the day, we all got along really well. We love each other now. The results actually impacted the way in which our team worked together. We readjusted the actual groups. We put people together that could work more cohesively. And then all three groups were able to come together at the end and provide a solution that fit our overall charter papers, our strategic goals. And we did it not only as a cohesive group, but we did it in an earlier amount of time. It took us less time to achieve it because we were working better together. Yeah. And that meant that we saved the company money on having our project not exceeding its time limit, but we also were able to implement that change quicker, which again saved time. So a lot of impact on me as a leader, our team, and the organization. Really quite clear. And I think the biggest thing about this particular template, before I go into the lesson learned, is highlighting the skill or the achievement that you want them to be aware of. That overall message that you need them to take away from what you exceed at, you excel at. Then when you get to the lesson learned, this is where you explain to them that you are not just sitting here going to be this static person. You're not going to do anything different the next time you find yourself in a situation. The lesson that I learned about myself is that I need to be much more aware of what everybody is involved in as far as the way they communicate and the way that they lead. So that now in the future, anytime I'm leading a group more than 5 to 6 people, I'm absolutely going to have an away day or an away half day to get to know each other before I divide us up into little groups that may or may not work. So that for me has helped me become a better leader and a better team player as well. And it ensures that everything runs smoothly. So I'm never going to stay where I was. I'm always going to find a better way to do the job the next time that I do it. Does that make sense?
I wonder, I'm sorry to interrupt, and with your permission, Teresa, I would like, because I really want Chrislyn to get some of her story out. So Chrislyn, the story that you told that night on Next Level You, can you, following the Star Plus template, inform Teresa of that story? So what was the situation? What was the task that you wanted to accomplish? What action did you take? What was the result? I think this would be a really interesting, because it can apply to stories as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kristen, would you be willing to do that? Sorry, Teresa, carry on. Yeah. I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was trying to find a time where we could actually introduce her to have a chance to put this into practice. And sometimes I do this in master classes where I get you starting to write things down as I'm going through this. So you got a little bit of time to do it. But if this is your story, maybe you can break it down really quickly. You never know. What do you think? Or do you
mean? I can actually give it a try.
Okay.
Okay. So my story was when I was probably about my early 30s, late 20s, 30. There was something that happened to me that I had some ischemic attacks. Okay. And so what happened was I was in the process of improving my academic situation. And so I was doing extra classes. The University of St. John's, the College of St. Benedict, they have a program in the Bahamas. Okay. And so I was taking classes to finish my degree. And in the midst of it, like I said, the ischemic attacks happened. And so it robbed me of my right side. So what would happen is I would lose whatever on my right side. It would be almost as if I'm having a stroke. I wouldn't be able to use anything on my right side. So sometimes I wouldn't even be able to walk. But what got me most was writing and in the exam. So I did not let it break me. I didn't sit there and play like I was the victim. I realized at that time it was challenging because being a right-handed person, at first, the first thing that came to my mind was, how am I going to do the lessons? How am I going to take the tests? But I made it a point not to be with the naysayers who said to me, well, maybe you should put that off or whatever. But there was something so strong within me to say, just go ahead, just do it. And I was able actually to use my left hand to write. So once I got in the classroom, it was no problem. There were times when I felt like, am I going to be able to walk out of here? But, I just kept calm, a calm approach to it. And at that point, it could have shattered my dreams, but I refused to let it shatter my dreams. So therefore, I use adaptability in that I was able to, like I say, use my left hand, and I got through my exams, and I got through them very well. And resilience was there. That spirit to go on, no matter what. I know I was going on. I'm not gonna let that stop me. And I changed my mindset. I changed my mindset to look at things in a positive light. For me, every day was going to be a good day, whether it was good or not. It's a good day. I can do it. And how I wrote I am, I used to say, I can do it. I can do it. I know I can accomplish the goal that I set out to, because that was the time that I was studying to make sure I can be to work in human resources. And I didn't say this part, Patty, and the reason was, and in my book, I alluded to this. I remember I started off in finance, and my boss said, no, I want to go in HR because I thought I had the passion to do it. And he says, no, you will never get there. So all of this was against me at that point. One mind was saying, maybe he is correct. I don't have the tenacity. I don't have the voice. I don't have all the things that I would need to be in HR. So all of that actually kept me going, pushing to say, I am not going to stop the classes. I will finish. And so here I am. I was on medication for life. I was told not to drive, not to do anything, because I know that there was some challenging times. But I refused to let that determine or dictate where I was going. So I do feel deep within, I'm strong enough. If I set a goal, I'm going to get there. And so my goal is to become that dynamic speaker. And so I am going to push. I am going to take whatever it takes to do it. I will do it. So, Patty,
See,
I run on a little different from
that's
the
okay,
story,
but
but yeah.
you see how the Star Plus, you did that, right? You see, Teresa, that's why
Yep.
I thought, gee, it would really be nice to fit in here. The situation
Perfect.
was made clear, the task, what you did, the result, the lesson learned. I got goosebumps again.
And that was just a really small section. I mean, a very small, in a capsule, succinct delivery of your story. Which, when you deliver it as a keynote, it will be very, very different. So this gives you a chance to kind of break it down as a really short, succinct outline
Right.
of what you really want them to hear. And I captured everything. I captured everything. I'm going, yep, that's the situation. Yep, yep, that's the action. Yep, that's the result.
Okay.
But change mindset. The lesson you learn, you change your mindset.
Yep.
Is it going to be a good day, whether it's a good day or not? I can do it. Yeah. And I am that dynamic speaker. Yeah. So you gave me everything.
And following this, you never have to read it again.
No, you do
Because you
not.
know the situation, you know the task, you know what actions, you know the result, you know the lessons learned. So whether you have 10 minutes or 45 minutes, this is the formula. So I'm sorry that I interrupted, but I just couldn't help but see when we're laying this out. This is exactly how Kristlyn can frame that story, which is so compelling. Very good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, that takes us, Kristlyn, to the end of our masterclass. And I am so glad that you decided to join us today, because I think, with everything that Patty's been able to give us with the introduction to our voice and how we can identify how we step into our power, and then using our voice as that superpower, absolutely will bring our stories alive. And we've already seen it in this small amount of time that you've spent with us so far today. It's a great way to start your day, don't you think? Yeah.
Yes. Can you go back to that slide? I just want to take a picture of it.
What, this one?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Keep
She's doing a proper picture. You can do a screen grab on your computer. I don't know what your how you do it on your computer. I do command.
I'm not sure how, but I
So
know.
that's good. You've got it. You've got it. So no,
I have it. So that's what yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, that brings us to a gift. We're so glad that you joined us, and I'm going to send you an email with all of this information in it. There is Presenting at Your Best in 26 Steps, which is the program that I get people to sign up for. It's every 2 weeks you'll get an email giving you another tip and technique that you can use to bring your story alive, and how to develop a speech, and all of that will go really well, especially for any keynotes that you're getting ready to deliver. And Patty has an ebook that is called Keep the Music Alive. I'll add that to the email as well, so you'll get a physical copy of it in PDF form, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
And it'll come to you in the email as soon as we get off this call. But we want to appreciate you by giving you these couple of bonuses that, I mean, I don't know how long it took. I don't know how long it took Patty to actually develop hers. Years, and for me, years as well. So we know these bonuses will set you up for the next level you want to get to. But that brings us then to the other thing that we're doing. We love working together, and we're putting on, hopefully eventually, a program specifically for women to speak up, stand out, and transform their voice. It's going to be a year-long program with me and Patty running it. We're hoping to launch it in January. This is not, we're not selling it to you. We're just making you aware that this is what's going to happen. And the logistics of it, it'll be 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, there'll be a call, or 2 a month. We'll have a call, and we'll talk about different elements of how to find your voice, speak up and stand out, and then actually step into your power. You'll learn to develop your voice even further, fine-tune your speaking skills, identify even more strengths than you thought you ever had, and actually wear the shoes that we know that you can wear. Patty, how do we know? It might be for her or might not be for her.
Well, I don't think you're working towards a promotion per se in the final quarter, but there's still the stage that's waiting for you, and that's a promotion. And if you're ready to invest in your future, I believe that you're ready to do the work you want to achieve now. And I don't know that you're tired of being overlooked, but I think it is time that the world knows you, your story, your experiences, your work with the boys. This is all such important work. So we will keep you informed. We are just in the process of putting this together. And as I said earlier, we didn't want to come on and do this heavy duty sales pitch. Teresa can keep showing you this business of what you're going to get out of this program, because we don't even know yet anything about cost. We're not really interested in that. We'll get there. We do want to launch it in January. So I guess we better get in the saddle and get riding, girl. But we really are just working out how can we best help women? So our thing is that we want women who do this 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours with us, to for now, for the day, you've got tools that you can use. We don't want you just to be getting ideas and ideas and ideas. We really want to give women tools. We're both very big on this, that we don't empower you. We just give you tools so that you can empower yourself. I'm very big on that. Both of us are. I think this whole empowering women movement tends to be a little colonial, the person that's doing the empowering has all the info and the person that's being empowered doesn't. I don't like that. I want more of an equality, of a balance. So we just want to give you tools. So that's where we're heading.
Okay.
We're looking, you'll be kept informed. And of course, I believe that Teresa will say this too. If you have any questions in the ebook, you know how to get in touch with me. You can always book a call with me. There's a call there with Teresa. I can send you my Calendly. I forgot to send it for this session today. But I think that I'll let Teresa say it for herself, but I'm available, you know that. So if you have any questions or you want anything, you just let me know and I'll respond as quickly as I can. And I don't know, Teresa, I think that you feel the same way. Yeah.
Feel the same way. And, the logistics of the actual program will make themselves known relatively soon. We're going backwards and forwards on everything we want to include in it. So it's kind of like we want to give you guys even more and more tools, and we want to make it affordable for more people to be able to do this. So these are just a few of the elements that might be in there, helping you unleash your potential, becoming more self-aware, because we have a lot of people that really do not know who they are, or that they are even hiding behind a little bushel, helping you realize the art of self-expression. That's always fun. I love being able to self-express. I'm a little bit of a stage hog, I think. I do like being on stage. I don't know about you, Patty, but I do like being on stage.
Yeah.
And utilizing the power of stories. This is a program that we truly believe in. And, if you have any questions now, feel free to voice them. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll close everything off and stop the recording. But do you have anything? I mean, I would love to hear from you. What is the biggest takeaway, the most valuable thing you think you've taken away from today? That would be lovely to hear.
I think what resonated with me is from Patty's side, the voice, and to show how important that is, not just relying on content. I liked how Teresa, you summed it up in the STAR technique. And so that's why I wanted a picture of that so I can, kind of follow that plan. And even though I know stories are good, it definitely resonated with me with the story after both me and Patty were on NLU. At the time I did the story, I didn't realize the impact that the story will have. And then from there on in, I said to someone, you know what, I called Patty my coach at that point. I said, my coach told me never read a story and never read your speech. You know what I mean? Let it come from within. Okay, even though I may have an outline, not to rely on that, and to have the feelings. So yes, I realize having feelings with the words you where I say makes a whole lot of difference. And I will no longer allow the negative voices to say, you don't speak clearly or loudly enough. And I will practice those. Even if I'm stuck in traffic, I'm going to practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I mean we couldn't ask for anything more, because we know you're a lifelong learner. You just proved it right there, because you've taken away so much from the short hour and 45 minutes that we've been able to spend together. And we do absolutely appreciate you coming on and being with us.
Thank you.
It's lovely.
I will be in touch.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
I love your
great day.
I just love the color behind you. That blue is so
yeah, this was my son's room. He wanted this color, and so it's easy for me to, sometimes just come in the back here because I have it set up more like an office rather than a friend. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, it's lovely to see you again, my dear, and do stay in touch. We are here for you. And keep that story going, because it's so good. It's so impactful. And your work with the boys, I'm so happy that you're doing that. It's really important.
Now,
So
my work with the boys is informal. That's what I want to do for, later on. I told my husband, yeah, we'll kind of work it together. But every opportunity I have, whether it's a church or wherever, and I have boys, I go through that. Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, that is perfect because I've got 3 grandsons. And if we can give them a really good foundation to build upon, we won't
Yeah.
have this problem in the future.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, we're
Okay.
going to close it. We're going to close
Yep.
it, Patty. And we appreciate, like I said, your time. We appreciate you being here and learning so much from us. So we want you to keep speaking up, standing out, and keep transforming your voice. Hugs, hugs, hugs.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye, Kristen. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye now.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.